Howdy, everyone. I'm Bob Flounders. Dave Jones is joining me. It is a very nice Tuesday, lunchtime Tuesday, blue-white breakdown podcast. Dave, it was.
I am telling you, it is spectacular. I don't even know where Kaiser is. He ran off.
I think he ran amok through the fields.
Can we just do like a 10-minute podcast and get this over with so we can get out? You know, I'm like Charles Barkley. Ernie, I'm staying here till 1.
You might want to put one of those trackers on Kaiser for days like this, just in case you need a little extra help.
You might be up with his mommy in the bedroom where she works. She works up in the master bedroom. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's
it's
all
just
right.
Such a beautiful.
It was a great sports weekend, but let's start with a little Penn State stuff. We'll get into the NBA a little bit later. I know you have some Kentucky Derby thoughts. Let's talk some Penn State football, something we meant to get into last week. I find it fascinating. I know the Penn State fan base is not happy about this, and I'm sure if you asked James Franklin about it, he'd have an answer for it. But Will
Levis thing.
Will Levis, the ex-Penn State quarterback who transferred out of Penn State after the 2020 season. I think it was pretty clear to Will that Sean Clifford was James Franklin's guy, and he didn't feel like there was anything he could do about it. And he transferred to Kentucky. The job was not handed to him, Dave. He had to beat out a couple of guys to get the job, but he did it quickly. He had a very good year playing in the SEC for Kentucky. They won 10 games for the fourth time in program history. I think he ran for 9 touchdowns, threw for 24, completed about 60% of his passes.
Under that notable quarterback guru, Mark Stoops.
But the punchline is that, we're only a couple weeks out. We're not even 2 weeks out from the draft. And everyone, all the pundits are in love with Will Levis in the first round. There was a ridiculous CBS Sports mock draft, I think, that ran yesterday that had him going number 1 overall, which is impossible considering who's playing quarterback.
Just stop right there. The mock draft thing and the infatuation, but we haven't even had a season yet.
We haven't.
Who the hell knows what's going to happen in the following draft when we haven't had the college football season yet? I mean, he could get a separated shoulder. Anything could happen to him.
Right.
B, the propensity for these mock draft geeks to overrate big rocket-armed quarterbacks. That has gone on forever. And what usually happens to them, Bob? I'll let you answer that question.
Well, I mean, look, Penn State
all the way back to Ryan Leaf.
Well, how about Christian Hackenberg after the 2004?
There's another one,
and he was number 1 on everyone's list too. It is nothing more than fluff and an easy read, but you just don't know who really knew who were going to be the good quarterbacks. Did anyone really think Kenny Pickett was going to have the year he did at this time last year?
Yeah, no. It was a third. Am I wrong, or did Will Levis get a decent shot here?
You are wrong. I don't think he did.
I think he did.
I don't think he did. Well, how do you define a decent shot?
Huh?
How do you define a decent shot?
I remember the Michigan game in Ann Arbor. Okay, He basically split time with Clifford all during the 2020 season. Did he not?
No.
I mean, he had a lot.
I don't know what Michigan game you're referencing because I think you're wrong.
Well, he got plenty of time. He was
in 2020 when they won at Michigan. He was their designated third down rushing back. Clifford took all the snaps. So in 2020,
I'm actually getting that mixed up with Clifford himself when he subbed in for Trace McSorley. I'm sorry.
Right, no, that was Tommy Stevens.
Tommy Stevens, right?
Okay.
So anyway, Will Levis got plenly of time. You will agree with that in 2020.
I do not.
So you don't think he got a great shot?
No, he played this. Sean Clifford was so bad at Nebraska, they put Levis in, and he almost rallied them. He had almost 300 yards of total offense. He did start against Iowa the next week, and he was bad in the first half. They pulled the plug on him to start the third quarter, but I just don't know that 2 quarters against Nebraska and 2 quarters against Iowa are enough for me to say he got a fair shake against, because I just don't think Sean played that well in 2020 from start to finish. So, I do give Will a lot of credit for seeing the writing on the wall and knowing his football coach and how he likes to pick his quarterbacks. He was smart.
I just think this is revisionist history that there was a clear choice between Will Levis and Sean Clifford at the end of the 2020 season.
I don't think there was, but I think Will felt like he was going to have to do something ridiculous to take the job from Sean Clifford. I don't think Sean played well enough to. Let's put it this way, Dave. I think it should have been an open competition going into 2021 spring, and I don't think James is going to do that.
Okay, that's what I'll grant you. That'll grant you.
Because I did see a little bit of Will last year. Not a lot, because they were playing at the same time Penn State was. But there were some pretty good. He kind of held his own against the Georgia defense. He's a big kid, and I just think that he made the right decision. And I just wonder, when you look at this draft, who knows? Maybe Sean Clifford and Will Levis will reverse. And Sean Clifford will get drafted higher than Will, but I don't think so. And I think that you could make a case that Will Levis was a heck of a quarterback option that maybe was never seriously considered at Penn State. That's what I think. It's okay to disagree, but I just think his year at Kentucky really, really was impressive.
Yeah, but this.
Yes, yeah, this is a different level. Correct. This is a different level.
Number one on a mock draft. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think the Ohio State quarterback. They were saying, Dave, at the Ohio State Pro Day this year, where they had those 2 receivers just like running around. They're both first round picks. They said the best player on the field was the quarterback who was throwing them the passes, and he wasn't even eligible for the draft.
Oh my God! All right.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
and in that offense this year, with Harrison and I always get the guy's hyphenated name wrong, so I don't want to make a bigger idiot of myself. They're gonna do whatever they want on offense this year. So
we don't even know who's the kid from Williamsport? I can't think of his name.
Julian Fleming. Fleming, he's going to struggle to get on the field again, I think, Dave. How about that?
Maybe he's a transfer opportunity. Maybe he's a portal opportunity.
Hey, Dave, one more Ohio State bit of news, because it's just fascinating. We always talk about them getting 5-star quarterbacks. They got another one for, I think, the 2024 class. It's still a couple years away, but it's Dylan Raiola. So I grew up a Nebraska fan. His dad, Dominic, was a tremendous center at Penn State. Not long, I think, after he might have even played. He might have played with Scott Frost, who's the Nebraska coach.
You said Penn State. You meant Nebraska.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant Nebraska. Raiola was a great center.
Had a huge career in the NFL, long career in the NFL.
Yeah, with the Lions. Like, he knows Scott Frost well. And his brother, Dominic's brother, Donovan, is the offensive line coach at Nebraska. And having said all that, Dylan Raiola picked Ohio State, and he's a 5-star, 6'3", 220. He's like their 5th or 6th 5-star in the last decade to go to that school. It's unbelievable, Dave.
And this is not a wide receiver, mind you. A position where you wouldn't expect maybe they've had Wan'Dale Robinson, they've had some decent wide receivers, but this is not a position that Nebraska has a deficiency that Nebraska can't attract guys to.
Right.
This is their kind of guy, and they still couldn't sign it.
Yeah, and we're forgetting about that. Ohio State had that Quinn Ewers guy on campus for like 10 months, and now he's probably going to start at Texas. A lot of people thought he was as good or better than Stroud, but that obviously has not proven to be the case. But Ryan Day it's like a shopping list for him in the offseason, whether it's via the transfer portal or just on the recruiting trail. If they really want a guy, they're going to get him.
That's right. They've created the preeminent brand in the Big Ten, and you can talk about whatever you like as far as other teams, Michigan and Penn State. Nebraska was supposed to be of this echelon. They were supposed to be this sort of school in the Great Plains to represent the Big Ten,
right?
Because ostensibly they didn't have anybody like that out there. And they've been absolutely AWOL. And the footprint of recruiting has continued to shift east, which brings me to the question is, are we seeing the end of the divisional setup sooner than later in this conference? Because I just think it's an untenable recruiting situation for, Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews and I went through recruiting and followed it through to the NFL. And Iowa and Wisconsin have done a fabulous job in maximizing the level of talent they're recruiting, which is not great. It has not been great. Nebraska hasn't even done its part. Nebraska's actually recruited, if you look at the 24/7 Sports rankings, at a better level than either Iowa or Wisconsin, and their results have been much worse. So this is the Western Division. You've got Purdue overachieving. You've got Minnesota overachieving for what they have to recruit out there. I just wonder if the whole divisional setup is passé, and we're just going to have to throw all 14 teams together and figure it out in a different way, especially considering that the college football playoff will probably add an extra week, and you're going to have to subtract an extra week from the regular season, which would be the playoff week. I just see an end to the Big Ten divisional setup in general.
It might be time. You're right. It just doesn't to see this thing play out year after year after year. It's so rare when there's a competitive game anymore at the championship level. And what good does that what good does that do the league?
Well, think of it. Every team in that division that's done well, especially that has won the division, has overachieved like crazy in relative to the recruiting personnel. Northwestern has had 5 NFL draft choices in the last, I guess it was 10 years. 10 years? Yeah, 5. 5. While Penn State has had 31. Ohio State has had 42. This is not. I can't remember the number of years it was that we did. I guess it was 5 years. It was 5 years.
Yeah, 5's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Northwestern, they're doing this they've won 2 divisional titles with this.
Yeah.
That is overachievement. And if anything, the rest of the schools underachieved. A lot of the ones in the Eastern Division, especially Maryland and Penn State. That was kind of the point of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I see us in the near future mixing them all up, and we'll probably have a lot more trips out west than we used to.
Dave, speaking of Big Ten West teams, is that an Illinois pullover that I spotted?
Oh, it is. Yes, it's a Brett.
You like them?
I've got some ancient stuff, huh?
You like them a little bit.
Illinois?
No, Brett
Bielema.
Yeah,
Bielema. Yeah, except I got this during.
It's actually pretty. I think it's pretty sharp.
Well, I like the one with the Chief logo, which I have one of those too. But those were. I bought this back in the 90s sometime. I mean, I bought this back in who was the guy that was coaching them in 01 when they won the division? And they went to the Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl or something. What was that guy? He was a brother of a famous NFL coach.
Yeah.
Famous NFL coordinator.
Now it's
coordinating family.
Now it's going to bug me. I'm trying not to look it up. I always think about the 07 coach that was on Urban Meyer's staff. Who was that guy?
This is not
when they went to the Rose Bowl.
Brett Bielema era T-shirt. Yeah, no, it was before Ron Zook. The guy before Ron Zook. I can't think.
It was before the great Tim Beckman too.
The great Tim.
Bill O'Brien's favorite college coach of all time.
Do you remember how bad they were? The 05, the year that Penn State had just lost to Michigan.
Yeah,
and we went in there. Yeah,
you thought we went in there on upset alert.
In Zook's first season, it was a night game. Yeah, 63-10. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was like 49 at half.
He got that going. That's how good Mike Loxley is, because Mike Loxley was his prime recruiter. He got that thing going in a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's
I
how
think Illinois
that's
scored
what an
first in that
incredible
game.
recruiter he was. Huh?
I think Illinois scored first in that game too.
Yeah.
Um,
They were going crazy. Yeah.
Hey, Dave, before we switch gears, I know it's not a big deal probably, but did you have any reaction at all to Penn State adding a home and home with Syracuse down the road?
No, I don't. I can't believe the publicity that got. No one likes going there.
Low news.
It's a horrible trip.
Yeah.
It's a horrible stadium.
Yeah.
It's a horrible city.
Oh.
You know what they? Well, it is. The funniest line I ever heard on Syracuse is that it's Wilkes-Barre with a dome.
Oh,
and that is
now you're taking a shot at Wilkes-Barre. Oh,
it's just.
I do remember.
Nobody wants to go to Syracuse. Why would anyone get excited
that
about
08 game that was in September? It was like about 91 degrees inside the Carrier Dome. Joe Herman almost melted on the field, and it was just
and what kind of company is Carrier?
Yeah, I know.
An air conditioning company, and they didn't have any.
It was not.
They do now.
It was not great.
No.
So no reaction.
It's a smelly dump. Nobody, at one point, had they pursued a Northeastern conference, it could have been a pretty interesting conference if, you remember a couple of years ago I did a story on what would happen if we threw all of the Power 5 college football teams, all 65 into a hopper.
Yeah.
And just redid them based on geography.
Mm-hmm.
What I came up with in the Northeast was pretty interesting. And I don't know that it would be a compelling conference on a national scale as far as TV viewership or any of that. But you would have all those old Penn State partners together, and people would be able to drive to every single game. I think I ended up with Virginia Tech and Virginia in there, with Maryland, West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Rutgers, Boston College. Who am I missing there? I might have included somebody from outside the Power 5, like Connecticut, simply to round it out. Temple, maybe, but it would have been a fairly compelling league where you could imagine everyone driving around the Northeast going to games. But that time has passed. Yeah. Is anyone going to be itching to see that Penn State Syracuse game? No.
Put Army in there, Dave.
Meanwhile, we're going off into the future here, and the main non-conference opponents for Penn State are Syracuse, Temple, and what do we have? West Virginia. Is that who it is? I think
that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Is anyone getting cranked up about these games? I don't know.
Dave, I have to take one more. I just want to run one more thing by you. It's not necessarily Penn State related, but I was just trying to imagine when the news leaked about the Pitt wide receiver Jordan Addison possibly heading to USC. Forget about the rest of it. But when Pat Narduzzi got wind of it, and he apparently had an angry phone call with Lincoln Riley, how mad do you think Narduzzi was, and what do you think that phone call was like?
Well, he's a lot like I am. My son mocks me when I get
Pelini like
because he knows I'm a paper tiger. That I go crazy and lose my mind.
No.
And in the end, the only one who doesn't know is Kaiser. He thinks I'm serious.
Oh.
Anna and Nick know better, and that's Narduzzi. I mean, Narduzzi. He's got the mean face and everything, but what's he going to do? There's nothing he can do. Pittsburgh is not a college football destination, and that kid is really good. Why didn't he commit to the NFL anyway? That's my question.
I don't know. I don't even know what year he is at Pitt. Is he super young? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's that, because it sure sounds like he's a hell of a receiver.
Well, I just know that there's nothing Pat Narduzzi can do about it. So why howl at the moon? You're not going to keep the kid. You're only pissing him off more. You're only coming off like a crotchety old man to prospective. Yeah, he's a freshman. That's why.
Yeah.
To prospective recruits. So why go through all the histrionics?
Well, I think Penn State
USC.
would say there was a dead period, but at the time, I think that maybe there was contact that could be construed as tampering because there was.
What is tampering, Bob?
Huh?
What is tampering anymore?
I'm
This
just
is
saying. That's it.
This is the other thing. This is the other thing. The NCAA finally just came out with what they're. You heard about this a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
Finally came out with they are
reasonable
calling guardrails.
Yeah.
Guardrails.
Yeah.
Yeah. As if
the train's off the tracks, baby.
Supposedly, boosters are not going to be able to just hand NIL deals over without intermediaries from the universities. And how in the world is the depleted NCAA going to enforce this? They have no enforcement capability at all. And B, do you think that's actually going to dissuade anybody in the SEC, anyone in the South, anyone at USC? No. So what we're going to end up with is Big Ten schools saying we have to follow the rules. We have to follow the rules here, and maybe some ACC schools and maybe some Pac-12 schools following the rules. These are the rules. We have to follow the rules with compliance people crawling all over their coaches. And then you're going to have the outlaw schools being the outlaw schools that they've always been, and they're not going to follow any rules because they know that that's a paper tiger, that there are no rules.
Yeah.
So, he should quit getting mad, Narduzzi, and just get even.
Yeah. Because
there are no rules. Do whatever you have to do NIL-wise to attract players. And money talks, man. If you got a sugar daddy, you got some big industrialist, some guy full of tech funds in Pittsburgh, get them on board.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to be able to get kids now. And I'm like, so be it. Everyone's talking about how this is going to ruin college football, that the players are getting paid now. A, they've always been paid. B, now it's just going to be above board. And C, they are the product. Yep. They deserve to be paid. And are you going to watch? Do you know anyone who's not going to watch because I can't have these players being paid? Do you know anybody who's not going to go to a bar in the middle of October and watch college football because of that? Do you? Do you?
I don't.
Yeah, how much? I think people are going to still watch college football, even if they say they're pissed off about players being paid, even if they're pissed off about high schoolers making $800,000 or $1 million in their freshman year. I am happy about it. I am delighted about it. And I'm delighted that money is going into the pockets of some families who might really need it rather than the pockets of athletic directors. And it's all the same pie. The boosters are just shifting some of their money into this sector, and I'm delighted about it. I have no problem with it whatsoever. And people are going to. I got newsflash for you. People are going to continue watching college football.
Dave, on a more somber note, I know this one really hit you pretty hard. How much are you going to miss Mark Emmert?
Come on. All right. We need to talk. We need to talk about the Kentucky Derby, don't we? A little bit.
This
is in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
The Derby is in your wheelhouse. Where were you when you watched the race?
I was in a bar.
Oh. Yeah, but which
it's like 7 o'clock at night. What else am I going to do at 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday?
Where were you? Which bar?
I don't want to say that. Come on.
You don't want to pick one.
No. What I do find it fascinating that great story. Everyone knows the story. Did you see the Dan Lebertard tweet from yesterday, or it was on his radio show? No. Because this horse was so rambunctious. Before the race and after the race, he like tore the skin off the pony he was riding with.
Yeah.
And he would like attack the guy that was riding the pony. And the
outrider, yeah.
Yeah, Lebertard was like, so how much coke did this horse do the day of the Kentucky Derby to be that wound up?
Is the drug report coming out today? I believe as we speak. I think
there will be a drug report, but let's hope for the best on that. And I just think, because
that's serious. It's serious stuff, and you would hate to see that that's the reason. Tony Black, we were mentioning the late Tommy Clifton, who died about 10 years ago. Your buddy used to be a Penn National jock. And he told me some harrowing stories about what it's like to be on the backs of these 800, 900
It's absolutely
pound
terrifying.
Yeah, it's got to be just terrifying as well. I talked to a buddy of Dick Girardi's who I needed a jockey to talk to. He's a delightful guy. He's 70 years old now. He's only just retired, named Tony Black. And he kind of blamed the outrider for the guy on the pony. See, the reason that this was happening is they were setting up an interview. They always do an interview while they're on the horses.
After the race,
The network feels compelled to do that. I believe it's NBC now. It used to be ABC, where Charles E. Canty or somebody is on the other horse, and they talk to the jockey right afterward.
Chris Economaki used to do it.
That was you killed me with that, because I just envisioned Chris Economaki on the back of a horse with this
in a suit. Yeah.
One time he was at a race in Dallas. I think they had a big Grand Prix race down there for Indy cars, and it was like 100 degrees on the course, and he had black shorts and black socks on, but he was still
Jackaroot
Mackie thing with his black greasy hair. The reason they had the outrider there, and it's a very unusual thing. This horse had won one stakes race,
maiden winner. That's it.
And he was not. Which is when they bring outriders over or presentations or something like that. Otherwise, they're not around there. They have no horse around them. So this horse, his name was, I'm always thinking Quick Strike. It was Rich Strike. Rich Strike, this 80-1 underdog. He's like, what's this damn horse doing next to me? Get away from me.
Pat Narduzzi. If Pat Narduzzi was a horse.
So Tony Black blamed the outrider for even he actually blamed Sonny Leone, the Venezuelan jockey, who is young. He's only like 31 years old, and he's never been through all this protocol with a big network presentation either. He said if he had had more wherewithal and was older, he would have just told the outrider, "Get out of here. I can calm the horse down." Scram, and that would have been that, because they didn't have the interview anyway because they couldn't calm the horse down. He took a big chunk out of the outrider's quad. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. We have an old
about this drug test.
Yeah, well, we have an old we have one of our old dog sitters who sat with Kaiser for a little while, and she moved to Baltimore. She used to work at Delaware Park as a hot rider. And I said, "Does that hurt?" And she said, "Hell yes, it hurts. It's horrible when horses bite you and they've got jaws like this."
Yeah,
because she's had it happen. Anyway, people who have been around horses know that that's not to be trifled with, and you just have to end the charade there, because if a horse is angry like that or jacked up or God knows what. You're not going to calm them down with like 2 or 3 or 4 more people. You just have to let the jockey do it, because the jockey knows the horse.
So the horse is scheduled to run in the Preakness. We'll see how that goes. But to go almost last to first like that in a very, very – it's one thing to go last to first in a 6-horse field. To go last to first in a 20-horse field against quality animals, I mean, very, very impressive.
Did you happen to read what I wrote this morning or not? You hadn't got a chance.
I was looking. See, I thought your column was so. It's Tuesday. I thought it was running. I thought you were doing your story later today.
It's up now. It's up this morning.
Oh, because on the budget, I thought it said Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
Yeah, but it said Tuesday at 4.
Oh no, that's wrong. It was up this morning. Anyway, so
okay, I'll read it.
So Tony Black was really interesting in detailing exactly how this could have happened. First of all, the horse was still 17th inside the 3/8 pole. Did you see that? He was 17th with 3/8 of a mile to go, and he somehow wove through this labyrinth of horses. Did you see the overhead shot, by the way?
Yes.
From NBC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So He said that the jock, Sonny Leon, made just a bunch of great decisions. And he was talking about how I compared it to being on the 405. You've driven the 405 in Los Angeles when we've gone out there, and it's
I've been
harrowing.
in the car with Joe Hermit, and it was very scary. Because he's not.
Did you really? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, the 405 is not a normal highway like we have in the East, because in the East there was no room around to expand highways because the cities were always already congested. In the West, back when the 405 was built in the mid 60s, they could build as many lanes as they want, and they just kept adding on. So it is like a 6 lanes of cars going 70 miles an hour at some points in the day. Not often, but if you get caught out there at like 2:30, it is full of cars. Every lane's full, and everyone's going 70, 75 miles an hour. And it's like being in an auto race. Yeah. And you have to have a laser focus ahead of you. And I ran that by Tony Black. I said, this is the best I can imagine, because I've done that, and it's harrowing in the least. And he said, yeah, it's like that, except these horses have accelerators and they have brakes, but they also have one other thing that your car does not, and that's a brain. And they sometimes like to do things that you don't tell them to do.
Right.
And it was very, very interesting hearing him talk about how Sonny Leon must have had a connection with Rich Strike, who also, he said, he gave credit to the horse, because there are a lot of horses who get spooked. I mean, the reason they have blinders on is so they can't see stuff around them that might make them afraid. Right. Some horses, he said, don't like the rail. He called it the fence. I thought that was interesting. Did you know jockeys call that the fence, and everyone else calls it the rail?
I think I've heard Nick Horvath call it the fence more than once.
I talked to him yesterday, and he said other horses, they don't like to pass on the inside. They don't like traffic on the outside to the right of them. They don't like to be yanked in and out of crevices, and you can understand. I mean, but this horse, he said, was willing to do whatever Sonny Leon told him to do, and he was game for anything. And he was, as Sonny Leon said in the press conference, he was like raring to go for more. Like, whose ass can I kick now? You know, what can I do now?
That's an indication of substance.
Could be. I don't know. We hope not.
He could have ran another mile and a quarter.
Well, he had some horse left at the finish, because Leon had to make a hard right at about with an eighth of a mile to go, to get into the crevice, to get into the clear and take a shot at Zandon and Epicenter. And it was almost like he was energized after that. And that's usually a move that'll take some legs out of the horse. And this thing was like shot out of a cannon. So we will see. It's too bad if that's true. And
I know. I shouldn't. It still takes nothing away from the ride of the jockey, the decision making of the jockey, and the horse. Obviously improved regardless, considering how he had run before. And he was a horse with that had shown in other races that he did some of his best running at the end of races, even though he didn't
in the final quarter. Yeah.
So, Dave, I think that's a great recap on the Derby. We are waiting the drug test to see if Rich Strike was indeed a super horse, or it was just one of those. It was just one of those fluky races. Medina Spirit got taken down. Things are starting to happen at the Derby, like DQs. 65 to 1 shot Country House got put up in 2019. Medina Spirit.
Who did you have when Mind That Bird won?
Yeah, I had Mind That Bird was 50 to 1 in 2009. Calvin Burrell, Calvin Burrell, who was the best at riding the rail, took that horse right up the rail to win. I had Pioneer of the Nile, and he looked like he was gonna win, but he was only like 2 to 1. So I was more happy for Mind That Bird. What are you gonna?
And you had Zandon in this race, right?
Yeah, I had a 3rd place finisher. So it's not great. It's just not great. But that was pretty stunning, I have to say. And I guess the moral of the story is I got to stop betting chalk, man. I got to stop betting chalk.
Why would you ever bet chalk? That's no fun anyway. Is that
what
you always do?
If you really, really like the horse's chances, like you got. I mean, there's been races where I've like 5 or 6 to 1 shots too, but Zandon to me was a standout in that race, and I thought Epicenter might have a little bit more. He drew better than Epicenter, and that's why I liked him a little bit better than Epicenter. So what are you going to do?
By the way, Tony Clark, my jockey buddy from Parks,
yeah,
he loved Zandon. He out of nowhere, he just said the other horse that I saw like that, who was just a warrior, who was willing to do anything a jockey asked him to do, was Zandon. I really like Zandon. So you weren't alone.
Yeah, I know. It's all right. I'll win one of them. I'm going to win one of these races one of these days, Jones, and I'll let you know it when I do.
I'm sure you will.
Davo, have a good rest of the week, and you and I will be back to chat a little about some Penn State football, a little Will Levis talk, a little Pat Narduzzi talk, a little Rich Strike talk, a little NBA playoff talk. Who knows? I think I'm on foreign substances right now, the way I talk that fast. So we got to go.